Jonathan Downing,
And I'm Robert Kirkendall III.
and this is our podcast. And you might notice that we're both wearing hats. I'm wearing my Reynolds Pest hat, the job I just got a job with, and you're wearing your little California
Yeah,
Republic hat.
my California bear hat.
Yeah, pretty cool. Which actually, do you know that California, um, no longer like grizzly bears aren't native to California anymore
Is that what
because
that
of
is?
yeah, it's a grizzly bear. Yeah, and so grizzly bears used to be native there, like in the 1800s when they came there, but then the they just drove all of them out because there's such a large population there that they can't. They drove all of them out. You know what I mean? And so like, there's literally like the last guy to ever die from a grizzly bear attack in California. They named a park after him, and it was in Joe Rogan talked about it, and it was in like 1961. It was like a
Wow,
long time ago.
that's crazy.
Yeah,
1961, man.
because they can still have mountain lions there, and they can still have like coyotes. They can kind of live around people, but grizzly bears, they need like a lot more space.
What about Smokey Bear? Doesn't he live there?
Been around forever.
Oh,
But but yeah, dude, look at this. Look at this bag. This entire bag is filled with clothes that my wife is gonna donate. She she keeps getting clothes and keeps donating them. Like they have this it's funny because I was thinking about that, and I keep having shirts that I want to donate too. Because like I keep getting rid of t-shirts and replacing them with button downs. And because so many of my t-shirts wear out, you know. Or do you ever get one where the t-shirt is like there's like a line from like one armpit to the other armpit. It's like that. You know what I mean? Like the line that goes across because it's so tight. You ever had that happen?
I've never. I think it's nice. I was about to say, yeah, I've never had that happen because I really haven't had any like weight gain, really. Like I'm not like in like a mean. No, I'm not trying to be mean, obviously.
You know, just
What I mean is I haven't had any large change of weight though ever. Like since I've always like incrementally gained weight.
no. I think it's not because of that. Because I've been the same size shirt. Like in my weight gain, it fluctuates, but it doesn't ever fluctuate out of this size. You know what I mean?
Well, I feel like, but you went from like being really skinny when you're in the military, for the first part, to going back up and then gaining weight and then going back down and then going back. You know what I mean? I'm saying your shirts get confused.
No, but that was an anomaly. Like I weighed 165 pounds, which I only weighed that for like a few months because like that's not a comfortable weight. You know
How
what I
many
mean?
meals,
Like
yeah. How many meals did you have to skip to get that weight?
I ate all my meals. It's just a lot of activity.
Oh,
You
okay.
know?
A lot of
Yeah,
yelling at. Because that was after
yeah,
basic training, right?
yeah, yeah. And so it's like I knew I was never gonna stay at 165. And to be honest, I don't know if I really wanted to because like I don't know, my head looked really really big because I already have a really big head. So it's like
You
sometimes
look. Go ahead.
sometimes when you're really skinny and you have a big head, it just doesn't. I don't know. It just
Yeah.
doesn't. Like I look better. I liked how I looked at 185 better than 160. Like 185, I was still like pretty fit, and I was still like for my height. Like 185
Yeah.
for me, I'm it's pretty good.
Well, and I mean, I think even like when I remember when I saw photos of you on Facebook after basic training, and yeah, I mean, you just look kind of weird. I don't know. It looked like, and not in a mean way, but it looked like they had like abused you. You know, what I mean,
Yeah, well,
like
I mean,
it.
to some degree, I guess. But
But I just mean it looked bad. Like you were like that stepson. Like you're their stepson that you're like locked in the closet for a couple of days.
yeah, I know, right?
um,
But like the thing with clothing donation, it's so funny because that's one of those things everyone always donates. You notice that? Like whenever someone has a broken umbrella or an old umbrella they don't want, or I'm trying to think of other things people frequently get rid of. That's not like the obvious things like food. What are some other things that people frequently get rid of?
I feel like you gave the example of umbrellas, and I've never even owned an umbrella, so I can't imagine somebody getting rid of one. I feel like the things, and I worked at Goodwill, so I feel like the things most people get rid of is clothing, um, and like Christmas decorations are really popular.
Yeah, I can see that. Housewares stuff,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I can see like pots and pans. But I feel like clothing, like there's this place here in Ephraim, Utah, called the Clothing Bank, and it's a place where you can just go pick up clothes for free once a week, and you can only go there from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Wednesday. That's it. It's the one time it's open, and the rest of the week is nothing but donations. But outside of the Clothing Bank, I saw they have a dumpster there. They have dumpsters full of clothes, just full. And I'm sure it was Goodwill the same way, where you just like there's certain stuff you just had to throw away, like a lot of stuff.
Well, you actually don't throw away a lot of the stuff at Goodwill because then what happens is that we take all the stuff that's like really good right away. We sell that stuff, and then the other stuff just gets put in they call them Gaylords, but it's just a giant bin of stuff, and then they load it onto a truck, and then they send it off somewhere else.
Where do you think it goes from there? Do you think it goes to like Africa or like third world countries or something?
No, I'm assuming that from there they probably wash the clothes, and they probably do something. Maybe not wash it, but they probably do something. They do, yeah. They do something more significant to it, and then they sell them. I think the last step, actually, they talk about this. Someone described it as a rat race. They actually have this place in Kansas City where they basically put down a bin, and then they count you down from like 5 seconds, and you guys have to like race for the bin. And you can buy like with clothes.
Does not sound fun at all.
Yeah, I think you can buy. Yeah, but people go there though because you can get stuff cheap. Like you can buy clothing. It's like 10 pieces of clothing for like $1. You know what I mean? Like it's absurd. It's like crazy stuff. And so yeah, one of my friends who I worked with went there, and he said it was like a rat race. Like everybody was like people were fighting for stuff. It was like Black Friday, but like every day in this Goodwill location. And I was like, that doesn't sound like Black Friday. That sounds like hell. That sounds like hell.
That sounds crazy. Yeah, like I don't know. It's just like clothing seems like one of those things. It's just like people just keep passing it off. They pass it off to one place, they pass it off to another place. No one ever wants to just throw it away, like straight throw it away. I feel like.
Yeah, the only time we threw things away at Goodwill was when they were like really gross. Like no, stuff was like gross, not just torn. I mean gross, because we don't even look through them enough to know it's torn. I'm saying you can tell like when a certain bag smells, you know.
Oh, it's like have you ever had it to where an entire bag was just nasty and you didn't even open the bag, you just threw the whole thing?
Well, if you could smell it, yeah. I mean, I've seen ones where their clothes are all wet. I mean, come on. Like, what are you going to do with that, you know? Yeah. Or some of them, you get some where you're like, this is like somebody, you know what I mean? Like somebody mixing their trash with their clothing on accident or something, which isn't even like their fault necessarily, because that happens. And then you'll see it and you're like, well, we're not going to put up this dirty diaper with this shirt, the shirt that's been in this trash bag with all this trash in it. So we'll just throw those out. But yeah, it was really cool though too, because at Goodwill, I think the one thing that people don't expect to find a lot of is like picture frames. There are so many picture frames. Picture frames are really high up there too on just the amount of people we get rid of.
Oh, that's an interesting thing.
Yeah, we had a whole aisle dedicated just to picture frames. Like literally, it was just picture frames.
That's funny.
It's really sad though too, because I'll see like literally somebody will die and a family will just take every single possession that person owned and take it to the Goodwill, and it's like sad because then you look through it and you're like, did they keep anything? You know what I mean? You're like, this is their tax records from 2019. Like, you're like, this is weird.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. Like, me and my dad are really close, but if he died and me and my sister probably wouldn't even want to, but like, if I had to like deal with all of his stuff, like, to be honest, I would probably, like, there probably wouldn't be a lot of stuff I would keep. I mean, they're probably like, because, I mean, think about how much stuff you accumulate in 70, 80 years. Like, me and my dad are really close, and I would keep his guitar, keep a few possessions, but it's like, I'm going to keep his recliner. You know what I mean? It's like probably that.
A recliner, okay, but a recliner is even nicer than what I'm talking about. I'm saying sometimes you'll just see like really personal things. Like you'll see personal photos, I don't mean like anything weird. I just mean like it'll be like dad met like, Michael Jackson. It'd be like a photo of them together. And they're like, let's go into the pile. Like nobody, I don't know. It seemed weird. Like you see full family albums sometimes. And go ahead.
Right. Well, it's like, I get that though. I get that to some degree. Because like, all right, if they just kept keeping everything, then my grandfather would have 1,000 pictures from his father or whatever. And then like my dad would get thousands more pictures from his dad when he died. And then it would just be like tens of thousands of pictures of people that I might not even know. That's your third cousin once removed who met like the Secretary of State at the time or something, or went to go see.
You would totally love that. You would love that because of the fact that you have that, you really love, I think you really have this big, I mean, obviously I do too, but big genealogy thing, right? Where you want to see like, and I would love to have pictures of people I don't even know. I know that sounds odd, but I mean, I already do to some extent, But
there's a big effort for that. Like antique stores, they'll have black and white, like the old like pictures from like the 1920s, and no one knows who they are in the picture.
Well, real quick, I want to ask you a question after this. But what I was going to say real quick was that, and also I want to say that whenever you keep your family photos, though, you lose some over time. It's not like you're batting one. You're not batting 100% over here, right? You're going to lose maybe, half of them at some point. Maybe there's a fire. You know what I mean? It could be anything.
Yeah, I guess so. And to be honest, like I do want to have a few pictures of my grandparents and stuff, but it's like whenever my grandma would show me pictures of like her grandparents, and I would see like a black and white picture of them, I'm not gonna lie, I thought I would feel something. I felt nothing. I felt not even a 1% of one thing. I didn't feel. I'm like, all right, I'm just looking at a picture of
really.
strangers. Yeah,
See,
like I don't know, like I didn't. I want it, but the thing is, I really love tradition. I really love the whole like code of honor, like that. Me and you have talked a lot about family crests and like passing on the name and stuff like that. But when it comes to old pictures, I just can't. And like unless I know them, like a picture of my grandpa, like he's dead now, but like an old picture of him from whenever he was young, that is kind of cool. Because I'm like, oh, like I saw him when he was old, and there's him.
Yeah, I could see that. I think I just have a special attachment to things like that. Like I said, I keep yearbooks. I have yearbooks of schools I didn't even go to, people I don't even know. That's not a joke.
That's weird.
No,
come on.
No. I like collecting them because like you think about it, like I don't know, there's something about it that I really like, really just enjoy. I couldn't even explain it to you. But what I was going to ask you, question I was going to ask you a second ago, what's the oldest photo you've seen? Like actual like this photo is so many years old.
Like not seen it online, but
yeah,
like, held it in my hands.
Yeah.
Or like in. Well, I think I've been to museums where I've seen photos from like the 1800s. But
yeah,
because that's the oldest photos that there are. What is it, like 1840s is when they had the first photo?
I don't know, because I'm more into film than I am into photos. But what I was gonna say, I've seen a photo so old they had. What'd you say?
Around then.
Yeah, I seen a photo so old that they only had a glass plate for it. Like they didn't even have it wasn't even on film. It was just glass plate.
Oh, that's crazy. Well, actually, hey, this is a fun thing to look up. Can you guess the first president to ever be photographed? Let's guess. All right, I'm gonna say James Buchanan, the one right before Lincoln.
Oh no, dude, there were definitely had to be post or pre-Lincoln.
That's what I'm saying. The one right before Lincoln.
James Buchanan. Who's the one? Who's the one before Buchanan?
So James Buchanan was 15.
Wait.
John Tyler was 11th.
Yeah, I gotta look up presidents real quick, and then I'll tell you.
Oh yeah, like before I look it up, tell me who the 10th through 15th is, because it's got to be 10 through 15. One of those. Because his 10th was John Tyler, then 11th was Zachary Taylor, Franklin Pierce was in there somewhere.
I'm gonna say
James K. Polk, or is that way?
No, I'm gonna go way lower. I'm gonna go.
It's not William Henry Harrison. Can't be William Henry Harrison. Number 9.
I'm gonna go. I think it might be Andrew Jackson.
Wait, can you read me the list from 10 to 15? Who's the 10th to the 15th?
7, 8, 9, 10. John Tyler, Polk, James Polk, Zachary Taylor, Millard Fillmore. I always loved Millard Fillmore's name as a kid. Franklin Pierce, James Buchanan, Abraham Lincoln. I'm almost certain sure it's either Andrew Jackson or John Quincy Adams. And I did not look at it.
Wait, you think John Quincy Adams was photographed?
Yeah, I just thought about it, and I think because I saw the years, and it says 1825, I think, and I was like, that actually seemed, I don't know, I feel like that would be right around it, because I know cameras were advanced enough in the Civil War to where Matthew Brady went around and took photos of the Civil War, like those famous Civil War photos. So I'm pretty sure that cameras, like when they first started off, would have been like, I don't know, I feel like
you sit there for a while.
Yeah. You'd sit there. It'd be like long exposure. Yeah.
I'm gonna guess Millard Fillmore. Okay, first president.
Yeah. John Quincy Adams or Andrew Jackson. I'll go with John Quincy because he's older.
All right. It says it was a daguerreotype camera. I'm looking here.
Tells you the camera, but not the president.
Oh, dude, wait, what was your guess?
John Quincy.
You're right, dude. It was John Quincy Adams. First one, man. in March of 1843.
Wow.
That's an old photo right there. I don't know if you're probably not gonna be able to
I
see
can't see it, but that's crazy, dude.
Dude, he's the first president ever photographed. Wait, so do you think whenever they do the portraits of all the presidents, do you think he's the first one with the photo, or do you think they still put the painting up there for him?
That's a good question.
Because he could kind of do either.
Was he photographed when he was president, though?
Yeah, when he was president. Yeah.
That's, okay, so yeah, I mean, probably than that one. They probably do the photograph.
That makes sense, I guess.
You know, it's funny to think though, like legit, the only record we have of George Washington's like appearance is a painting.
Paintings and busts, sculptures.
Yeah. Yeah, but like that's just funny to think though. I'm saying like somebody could have been, he could have been like, hey, we'll make my chin a little. Can you give me a chin job in the painting?
Well, they actually did a mold. They did a death mask of him. Did you know that?
Oh, really?
Yeah. So one of the cool. Have you ever been to Mount Vernon?
No, I've not been to Mount Vernon.
Dude, it's maybe the best museum in the entire country. That being said, I haven't been to Smithsonian, so I'm sure Smithsonian beats it. But
also, your dad. I was about to say your dad was hyping up Monticello when we were thinking about going.
And then it was closed, yeah. Which the building is? Did we get to see the building from like a ways away?
From a ways away. It was similar to how we saw the White House, but it was like 200 yards out. You're like, is that it? Like,
we saw well, because in movies and back in the day, like only like 10 years ago, they would let you walk all the way up to that black fence. Remember that black fence? With the little spikes on it? They would let you go all the way up and like put your hands on it. And, like,
well, I think they still do. I think we were there for like a really important event on accident. We just didn't know it. Like, do you remember that? Because they had Secret Service. You pulled in. They're like, what are you doing? Do you remember that, dude? You pulled into the White House like driveway thing.
If you have a shot, take it.
I mean, seriously, they're like, you know what I mean? Like, it was really caring. You're like, oh, sorry, we're just like,
do you like your life? Do you like to live?
When you told me that story about the Russian president who was like roaming around naked and drunk. No, it wasn't, but he was in his underwear. And like, he was just like roaming around. And of course, he ended up on the White House lawn, like, no problem. Could you imagine Bill Clinton's like, why wasn't he stopped by security? Sorry, Mr. Clinton. No, why wasn't he? He's drunk. Is he not? Clearly.
I'm sorry we didn't put 2 in his chest because he was a Russian president. Like, Jesus, what do you want us to do? Start an international war?
Well, I mean, you think they knew at first? Like, I don't know. Like, do you think? Okay, so say like Secret Service sees this guy walking up, right? Do you think they say like, "Can I see some credentials?" Or do you think they already know? I mean,
I don't know, man. I mean, maybe they give him an ocular pat down.
Dude, what if he just had a certain kind of confidence, like he's Russian president? Is that the Russian president? I mean, he couldn't walk like that if he wasn't.
Yeah, he definitely was confident. Yeah, but one thing I was gonna say real quick about Mount Vernon is they made a death mask of Washington when he died, and they used that, and that ceramic mold has been in existence since like when I think he died in like 1799. So since then, and they used that mold to make dummies, and they used the mold to like make like a realistic mannequin and of the same height with his clothes on. So there's literally a mannequin of George Washington's face exactly how it was, with like fake hair and his actual clothes, riding a fake horse, like just, and him like riding, him holding a musket, him like laying on his bed, him like riding in his
laying on his bed.
Why? Yeah, like him doing everything. Like, and it was really cool. It was so awesome. And there was one of him dressed as a king, because they wanted, because it was talking about how they wanted George Washington to be king.
King George. Yeah.
Yeah.
What if you're like, they have one of him brushing his teeth, one of him taking a selfie. They have like, you're just like going through all these like funny actions that most people do.
One of him liking me on Facebook.
One of them liking and subscribing.
No, but like, a part of me wonders, dude, what if they were like, what if he's like, yeah, I'll be king. Like, what if he was just like, screw it, like, let's do it. Like, do you ever
Yeah.
wonder what it would have been like if that monarchy like existed today, and it was kind of like the English monarchy? You know?
I mean, I think that's partially myth, not in the sense that it didn't happen, but just like I think we forget also. I mean, do you remember when the Articles of Confederacy were formed before the what is it before the was that before the
For the Constitution.
yeah before the Constitution, and there was somebody else named president. Do you remember that? There was somebody I can't think of who it was, but it wasn't George Washington.
No, there's like 7 different people over the course. It was like from 1776, and correct me if I'm wrong. Was this the Constitution 1789? Is that what the year was? Pretty sure. All right, let's just say for the sake of argument,
Yeah.
I think so. In that 13-year period, there's like 7 different guys that were in charge.
Yeah, and so I think, but I think like I think the point is, it's kind of like that cherry tree, you know. Oh, Washington could never tell a lie, you know. I'm not saying it's like that exactly. I don't think it's completely myth, but I'm just saying I don't think that like they were like every like 40 dudes are holding this dude up like on his shoulders and like king, 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 and he's like hold your horses. I'm gonna be president.
Well, some things get exaggerated and some things definitely get ignored in history. But like, I don't know. And the idea that some people consider those the first presidents, I'm like, I don't know, because if you think about the word Confederacy, the way it's used a lot is a conglomeration of a bunch of smaller things.
Yeah.
It's like they used Confederacy because they literally wanted America to be 13 completely sovereign, independent states. Like they wanted Virginia to completely rule itself in every way, and then Maryland to completely do, and like everything is separate. You know what I mean?
Do you remember? Yeah. Do you remember why it failed? They because I read
they couldn't tax their citizens.
Yeah, they couldn't. Well, it's 2 things: they couldn't tax, and they also had no right to form an army. So they had like no way of protecting themselves federally against any threat.
It was nothing but local militias.
Yeah, yeah. And so that was a huge issue, though. Anyways, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I'm happy about that, though. I'm happy that we are one big country. Because imagine if like Wyoming could get taken in like a day. It's only 400,000 people there.
First off, it's funny that you mentioned Wyoming as if Wyoming would be the one that gets taken. Because I'm sorry, but Alaska and Hawaii would definitely be 1 and 2 on that list of territories to be taken. They're not even in the 48. They're not gonna. They have no protection.
Yeah, I guess because it would take us forever to get to. Well, we do have a lot of military bases in Hawaii, but like if it weren't for those, it would take us forever to like.
Well, that's why we have so many, though, right? Because we recognize they're a very weak point in our, in our not in like a mean way, but I just mean strategically speaking, they would be. I mean, they'd be. Yeah, geographically, they'd just be destroyed. I mean, because if California gets attacked, I mean, look at all you have everybody else can easily get there. That's why we have highways. You know, that's what highways were invented for.
This is a fun thing. This is a fun hypothetical to go with. All right. Imagine World War III breaks out, and imagine our enemy is China, right? Which we're kind of in the middle of a Cold War with China right now.
I feel like Russia would be more likely, but anyways, yeah.
Right, let's say it's an enemy that is of equal or greater value to America in terms of like military strength. If you're China or Russia, how do you attack America? Like, what's your plan? Where do you go first? How do you do it if you had to like do it? Because for me, I would definitely take over Alaska first, like you were saying. That would be my home base.
Yeah, I would. Well, if I'm Russia, I'm going Alaska. If I'm China, I'm going Hawaii, right? Because then it's just whoever you're closer to at that point. Because you're gonna have more ability to to maneuver. Yeah. Well, also you probably either way you take Taiwan first, right? You take Taiwan first because you'd want it because the thing is, and that's another thing that you didn't even mention was that America's allies are going to be the harder part of that equation. It's not going to be America because that would be almost impossible. I mean, with Japan right there, I mean it's in Okinawa. I mean we have all the military bases in Okinawa. Huge military force in Okinawa.
Yeah, and we keep protecting Taiwan and saying that like if anything happens to Taiwan, it's like World War III.
I mean, because that's what it is. But I'm saying, yeah, I would wait. What I would do actually is I would do everything else, and then whenever I'm ready to go to war, I'd attack Taiwan. No, I would say, yeah, go Hawaii, and then actually I would attack the middle because I think America is smart enough to protect the border, right? They protect
like Nebraska.
Well, I would just airdrop into Kansas because I would say inside out would be the military force is gonna be a lot less than it would be on the
kind of like Red Dawn style with the parachutes.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think that's more of a a very unlikely scenario, and I think that would be something that just wouldn't be very predictable, like on how that would go down or play out. Especially because you could do it again. You could do it to the point to where like you could possibly get some sneak up in there, you could sneak into certain situations that they again. Because what would you do? You'd reinforce the what I mean. You'd reinforce the coast.
Well, you could sneak into Canada maybe without anyone ever noticing. Because if you think about Canada is so sparsely populated. 90% of its population live within 2 hours of the border of America. So like you could go in through the northern islands and sweep through slowly until you get to like Toronto and then
go ahead.
March through. You know
what
I mean?
The problem is though is that again America is going to protect every single border. I mean that's where our force is going to be Canadian border, Mexico border, and then I would guess Florida, Hawaii, like big coastal areas. You know what I mean? Big coastal ports like New York, obviously. I mean, you'd want because also, I mean, what you don't even realize is that a lot of the stuff that we get, a lot of shipping and stuff comes from like boats. You know what I mean? It's still shipping through boats. So I just mean like if you're gonna really drain a country, I mean, you're gonna want to attack our ports. I mean, but the thing is I feel like that's obvious, and so I'm saying I would want to do the opposite because I think that that's too predictable. I think America is smart enough to protect all of that. So I'd want to do the opposite because the thing is, I don't think America would be prepared to attack the middle. The only problem that you'd have though is that once you get in the middle, say you do take over Kansas, because Kansas would have like a small militia. I mean,
Western Kansas especially, you could set up bases in a field somewhere in Western Kansas.
The only problem is you're going to be surrounded on all sides. So you're going to need an out. You're going to need like an outlet. So yeah, you need to have like
North Dakota. You go into North Dakota and then just have your out be Canada.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah. Well, what you do is you'd probably set up spies in Canada because Canada is pretty easy to get into. You'd probably set them up years in advance. You know what I mean? You'd probably get them in the government, infiltrate the government. I love how we're just detailing how you'd want to attack America.
This plan that we're talking about, it's hypothetical, could already be like 3 steps in by someone.
Well, for real though, I have a lot of international friends, and Canada is so much easier to get into immigration wise than than America. So they just go to Canada. And Canada's not a bad place. Like Canada is a very suitable secondary American kind of,
Another thing that a lot of people don't know, there's actually more people living further north in the continental United States than there is in Canada. Because in a part where it dips down, like near Toronto and New York, like over 50% of the population of Canada lives within that part where it dips really far down. So it's like, if you take the population of Wisconsin, Michigan, Minnesota, and like Washington State all put together, like it's way higher than Canada's population.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. So they have a lot of space, and so I mean, you'd want to infiltrate a government that is close enough to America, but not America, because I think America, it'd be too hard. I think personally, and it's just too risky. I think Americans are too paranoid for me to want to make any moves on them like that. Whereas I think Canada is a lot less paranoid.
You can make your base of operations Greenland. There's only 50,000 people in Greenland.
Well, the problem with Greenland though is Greenland's too far north. Again, you'd want Canada. Canada would be the because you wouldn't want to do Mexico because their government presence is just. I mean, what, you're gonna have people join the cartel? I mean, they have no,
you'd be fighting dudes in tanks, like you know what I mean, in Mexico before you even got to America. Like we've already faced so many casualties. We're not even out of Mexico City. Oh my god.
Like they just have no infrastructure whatsoever. Like no, they have no structure to their government really. It's do whatever the cartel wants.
Just smashing empty Coronas against your tanks. No, but like, what about this strategy? What if you went in through Nova Scotia, north of Maine, and you went in through Maine, and that way, you're cornered. So like you go out, and then you can come right back to Canada anytime.
Isn't Maine a decent port though too? I mean, I feel like Maine would be.
Yeah, so you could attack the port of Maine.
I just mean like any major port, any top like 20 ports, they're going to be guarded like they're going to be like what do they call it? Fort Knox? Is that what everybody where they talk about?
Everyone always uses Fort Knox as a thing.
That's what it's going to be guarded because why? I mean, because the thing is that it would be so vulnerable. I mean, that would be the number one. I mean, that's why Taiwan's such a vulnerable area. You know what I mean? Because they're ports. I mean, you can't. There's nothing you can do about. You know what I mean? It's like attacking somebody in their knees. Like it sucks that we have joints and we have knees, but like that's gonna be our weakest point, So if you kneecap somebody, you know what I mean? It's gonna be a lot more effective than if you just kick somebody in the shin. I mean, it'll hurt if you kick them in the shin, but it won't. It won't cripple them in the same way.
Yeah, that's always like the thing in movies. Like, to get like shot in the knee is like the worst or whatever. It's like,
Yeah, that's true. It,
because like I feel like your odds of being able to walk again are way lower if you get shot in the knee
yeah.
versus the thigh or the calf or something like
What
that.
do you think? What do you think the easiest port to take would be? Like, it had to be big enough. You know what? You might take one in California. Honestly, I mean,
Maybe like like northern, like up by Sacramento or something.
San Francisco.
Oregon, dude. Oregon. I just thought about that. One of the ports in Oregon.
Yeah.
Oregon's very sparse compared to
Portland.
like Seattle or Portland's actually very far inland.
Why is it called Portland then?
Because it was named after Portland, Maine.
Oh,
Yeah, Portland, Maine. Like the people who founded it, they either were from Maine or they just wanted to name it after.
that's so interesting. But
They also named. I don't know if you knew, but Diz said that the area where Lewis and Clark first saw the Pacific Ocean was in Oregon, and they named the town where Lewis and Clark founded it Independence, and then they named the town where they started Independence. That's for Independence, Missouri, and Independence.
oh, that's
Oregon.
cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Wow, they started it. Wow, Independence, Missouri has come a long way.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I don't know much about Independence, Oregon either.
But what I was gonna say, actually, you know, the more I think about it, actually, it would be really. I think here's the one I would attack. Right, I would do the Canada thing, and then I would literally I would go the Great Lake Superiors, you know, or the 5 Great Lakes. That's where I'd attack. Because
okay, like a naval war.
Yeah, well, because I'm saying that would be I mean that would be the most enclosed space. I mean, it would be a bloodbath, obviously, for both sides. But I'm saying if you want to really that would change the tides. You know, I mean, you take that. I mean, that's a huge piece too.
But you can't put ships in there because how are you going to get the ships to the lakes? That's the only problem.
Yeah, well, I'm saying that's what I'm saying though. So no, that's what I'm saying though. So I'm saying you would have to do a naval war, but like with smaller ships. That's what I'm saying. That's what. So I'm saying it would limit so many different styles of warfare. Whereas like if I attack the ocean, you know what I mean? If I come into San Francisco, well, the port, even in San Francisco, right? You have to go in underneath the thing. But I'm saying that they're kind of protected. Do you get what I'm saying? They have a natural protection. In other places have natural protections, but I'm saying in the same way, you could say, oh, well, they're protected, but as much as they're protected, they're also hurt because you can't bring in giant naval ships, like you just said. You have to fight, you have to fight, like I said, more hand to hand. And if you look at like the American Revolution, right? I mean, what do? They literally took, instead of fighting the British Army like they fought, which is like, all right, line them up, and which by the way is so stupid. I don't even know why wars ever fought like that. Line them up in a row.
March into death. You know what I mean?
Line them up 8 at a time. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah.
Make sure your heads are exactly in the same height and width area. That way, if a straight line comes through,
dude,
it's funny.
Could you imagine the Americans, like in that moment, when they're fighting the British? They're like, why are they walking in a straight line? Like, what if we just walk a little? Like, what if we just walk how we want to walk, and we just attack? Like, we just attack them one by one. We just pick them off.
Just hide in the bushes and shoot them. Right?
Why don't we just hide? Why don't we just throw a bomb? What?
Yeah.
That's not how war. Can you imagine war having rules like Monopoly? Hold up. Nope, you didn't roll the dice right. Step back.
What was up until? Well, it's like, thing is that there were some battles that America did do that. America did march into battle like that.
Yeah.
In the bigger battle.
It's stupid though to think like that. That's even how people conceived of war before. Like, I don't know, like, to me, war is like such a, when I think of it, I think of like Vietnam, you know what I mean? Where you're like, it's this really confused mess that you're like, I don't know which, you know what I mean? I don't know what's really going on.
The problem is they don't have long range weapons. So there's a lot more strategy in battle when you have like in boot camp, they taught us how to shoot people from like 500 yards out. And I kept making the argument to the instructors that from 500 yards out, even with the scopes you give us, I can't tell if it's a good guy or a bad guy. Like, I don't even know why I'm shooting at a speck. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense that I should shoot it. And he's like, just do it. Like,
shoot.
Yeah, and so it's like there's a lot more strategies, a lot more things. You can use terrain to your advantage, but it's like when you have weapons that you can only hit people from maybe 100 yards, maybe. Like, at that point, you do kind of have to get up close and personal and shoot some people. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And I mean, I just mean like, it's funny to me because I'm saying like, the idea that like war was so like civilized is totally not how like 20th century war is fought at all. Like it's a stark contrast where like I mean what like mustard gas is illegal now. Where I mean because people were like throwing up their guts like I mean it was intense stuff. And to think like before you just pump a musket and you're like all right wait I have to give me a second you know
Yeah,
you're not
dude.
shit are you we want to fire at the same time like
That's always the craziest like scenes in like the Civil War movies where each of the guys like right next to each other and they're like pumping it up to try to like. I'm like, dude, just get on your bayonet and kill him. Like I was gonna say, like I don't trust my ability to load it that quickly. Like
just dude one day
tear off the powder and pour it
they have
in.
like a speed loader boom.
Yeah, it's just so much. It's like
Yep.
I really love the scene. Do you remember the action sequence in The Patriot? You ever seen The Patriot?
Patriot.
You haven't seen The Patriot?
With Mel Gibson, right?
So his strategy was it was like a little trail that these British people were on, and they captured his son. And so there was like embankments on each side that were like higher on each side, and so he had like 4 or 5 rifles, and he had them all like loaded, ready to go, and he put them on different trees, and he'd run from one tree, fire, run to another tree, fire. Like it was.
Yeah. See that makes sense though. Yeah, that makes sense. Like load them beforehand. But I'm saying, what they had to do in the back, like the reason why the North won was because they had to do it in the back. Like you could just use like you double fist them.
Well, I think at that point they had the Gatling gun.
Yeah.
Remember
Yeah. Oh, what if could you imagine if the like speaking of Gatling gun, what if they had like the wooden wheels and they just snapped and they just have a gun? They're like, oh man, prop it up.
How hilarious would it be if it like spun around on accident and they just like mowed down their own troops? They're like, it's a runaway gun. Because people don't realize those like automatic weapons, they can have what they call like a runaway gun, where something will break inside and it'll just keep firing until it's out of, and you can't stop it, type of thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Military?
Yeah, so we fired the M240s, which is a medium machine gun. It's not like super big. But there were times, where it would just be like, all right, we're just gonna wait for it to be done.
All right, we're gonna wait for Johnson's machine to discharge.
That was so dumb too, because we were just firing into the side of a mountain. Like it was so lame.
You know what's weird to think? How much money is like blown into that? Where you're just like, yeah, like that's how it is. Like that's crazy to think that you're just like using all this ammo consistently. You know what I mean? Because it's on a larger scale. It's not just your platoon. It's like a bunch of people just using ammo. But it makes sense. But it's also like wow. Like one of my mom's a current boyfriend. He's in the military. He's in the Navy, and he talks about all the time how they get rid of brand new stuff all the time. Like they literally just get rid of brand new things. They're like, why do we get rid of brand new things? Because they have a new contract with a different company, for their material.
Problem with government workers using equipment that like is paid for by the government is you're not trying to make money. It's not a business that is there to make money. You know what I mean? And so you're not trying to save money either. It's not like no one at my platoon is going to lose money if equipment breaks. And so the problem that happens is like, one, no one cares if equipment breaks. So you just order a new one. And you just endlessly order new ones.
Yeah.
And no one cares what happens to gear. No one cares if gear gets lost. Like it sucks, and it's like it just seems like a waste. And there's a lot of wasted man hours too. But I could get into that forever.
Yeah, have you seen Sergeant? Is it Sergeant Bilko with Steve Carell or not Steve Carell? Steve Martin.
Sergeant Bilko. What's that from? Is that the name of the movie, Sergeant Bilko?
Yeah, I think it's the movie.
I feel like I've seen that.
Yeah, it's funny. I think it's a funny like military. I always really love those comedy. Stripes. Yeah, Stripes. Yeah.
The problem with those comedies is that they're kind of like I don't know. They're kind of like broken records. Like a lot of the jokes are kind of like the same. It's like, oh, isn't it funny that I can't do things right and I get yelled at? Like I don't know. It's just kind of like a lot of the same jokes. Like a lot of those military comedy movies. Even before I joined the military, I was kind of like after I watched Stripes, I was like, this is kind of I don't know. Like a lot of those military comedies are just really really similar. Like
no, that's true. That's true, but I think it's like slightly different flavors. You know, it's kind of like whenever you watch a Jim Carrey movie, right? Like he has his own zany kind of style of comedy, and then you watch a Will Ferrell movie, he has like his own kind of zany style of comedy.
If the subject matter is at least different enough.
Yeah, okay, so, but I do feel like to me the military parts don't. Yeah, there's like kind of sameness to it, but like you watch something like The General by Buster Keaton, you know, which is a fantastic silent film if you haven't seen it yet.
I have.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hilarious. You know what I mean? Or it's one of the funnier. I think it's one of the funniest silent movies I've ever seen.
I liked it for the stunts.
Yeah. Well, I think
the action aspect of it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that's also what's really cool about it too, is the action stuff. But I think it's interesting because I think you can just mix in different things, and I don't know. Yeah, a lot of the stuff's similar, but I think well, Bill Murray, it's weird too because Bill Murray and Steve Martin, I think, register on really similar like ranges. You know what I mean? They're not like different enough. Like it's not like Jackie Chan's doing like a military comedy, which would be ironic, obviously, because he's.
I think he would do a great military comedy.
No, he would. It would be ironic though because like he's from China. You know what I mean? So I'm saying like the military in China would be an odd I don't know. I've never seen a movie about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess he's in the American military. It'd be weird though now. Like, what if he just signed up? That's the joke, is that he's so old, but he just signed up for the military. You know?
Oh, that would be kind of like he's like 50.
Yeah.
Like, how old are you? 52. It's like, Jesus. 52. Well, because they even said that in Ukraine. They said whenever the war started, they're like, no males 18 to 60 can leave the country. And I remember thinking like, 18 to 6, like 60s? Are you cut like if you're gonna go 60, why not do 8? Why not do 80? Why not do 90? Like
it's funny though because I remember seeing a lot of boxers like Lomachenko, who's a fantastic boxer, and I remember seeing a lot of boxers fight for a Ukraine, you know, for like the war, you know, which is really cool. But like, dude, these boxers will go in there and they'll be like peace with like their military crew, and they'll like 5 military dudes around them. And it's funny because, they'll be like this, and you can see they have like 3 Rolex on, you know what I mean? And then on the other hand, they got like, they got another expensive chain, they got some gold chains on. Everything like, don't tell me they're sending you out there in the front lines. Like, you're not out there seeing action, right? Like, you're clearly more of a poster boy.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if you knew, but it's against the Geneva Convention to have consignment soldiers, like soldiers that are like drafted in to be put in like combat zones. So that's like one of the big things that Russia's getting in trouble for, is because they're putting consignment people, like people that they're forcing to go in, right?
Yeah.
Into combat zones, because they're not declaring it a combat zone because they declare it Russia. Because they're declaring parts of Ukraine Russia, and they're like, no, we're not sending you to the combat zone. We're sending you just to Russia. Like, you know what I mean?
It's McDonald's, dude.
You're not even leaving America. You know what I mean? It's like, that's how they think. You're not even leaving the motherland. Like, you're just, and then meanwhile, there's dudes just getting just wrecked out there.
I would think that's an awful military strategy in the sense of like, I don't know, those guys, like, if you don't want to go out there, I mean, like, I've always thought it was awful when people are like, when they send out, like, people who don't want to go, only because of the fact that it's like, I don't know, I feel like you go volunteers first, and then you kind of, you know what I mean, and then you get a guy out there who kind of round up the troops, you know what I mean, get a couple people who are patriotic enough for the, for the country.
Well, first is you call up all the reserves.
Yeah.
And then you ask for volunteers, and then...
What I mean, though, sending dudes who don't want to go out there, though, doesn't seem like a good solution, because what are they just going to run away at some point? It's kind of like you're saying with like the North Korea thing, where like if North Korea were to attack South Korea, they just all if ever step foot. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, because nobody would want to fight for North Korea. Even the people who did probably wouldn't want to. Like, you know what I mean? Like they. There's not
a lot of true believers in North Korea. Big surprise, I know. But
dude, I wish they do like I wish they do a comedy for that. That'd be good. I mean, I know they did that one, The Interview. The Interview was a little too silly, though. I feel like something. No, it was funny. It was funny, but I mean something a little more like that actually deals with like real issues. You know what I mean? Like, because I remember the movie's funny. It's hilarious in parts.
They need to do a Death to Stalin. North
yeah, exactly. Kind of like that. Yeah, exactly. Something that really deals with more of the issues.
Where the guy has his wife taken, and he's like, "Well, I'm glad she's dead." Like, you know what I mean?
I'm glad she's dead.
And then she comes back and he's like, "Oh, I hope you learned your lesson," you know?
We should probably mention that it was a break, right?
Oh yeah, we're back.
We're back.
We're back. But yeah, like North Korea, I've heard it's. I really wish that's like one of the wars that I really wish America would fight. Like I know there's a lot of different fires that America can put out across the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but the one that
You got it. Go keep
the
going.
one that I'm really like, we should go in there and save those people is like North Korea. Like we need to, but its problem is it's China. You know what I mean? China, we can't go to war with North Korea. We can't go to war with North Korea without also going to war with China. And
Yeah.
dude, I've had so many different ideas because like I've been getting really into geography and like history of different countries. Do you know that there's this people in Iran and Hungary and Turkey and like where all the countries intersect? They're called the Kurdish people, the Kurds. Have you heard
British?
of them?
No.
Have you heard? No, yeah. So it's this group of like Muslim people. They have their own language.
Really?
They have their own like I want to say it's kind of like a denomination of Islam type of thing. You like their own like little,
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And whenever the land was being formed and like warred over in the Middle East, they kind of just never got their own country. They kind of are just the area of like where the Kurds are from are like segmented from a bunch of different countries. So like
Yeah.
there's some Kurds living in Turkey, some living in Hungary, some living in Iran, and like Kurdish like language is like illegal in those countries because the last thing that those countries want is for the Kurds to like rise up and create their own like Kurdistan, just like
Yeah.
a lot of other countries did. But I'm like, oh my
Kurdish.
gosh,
Kurdish.
dude! So they're the largest people group in the world to not have their own land, to not have their own defined borders. And I'm part of me thinking like, oh my gosh, like I want to just like take all of the Kurdish people and put them somewhere else. Like I know that sounds like so dumb, like such an elementary school answer, but like doesn't that make sense? Like Namibia. Do you know very much about Namibia?
No, I don't.
So it's right down by South Africa, right? It's on like so if this is the tip of Africa, it's on like the western side.
Okay.
And it has the second lowest population density of any country in the world. I think number one is Mongolia, but number two is Namibia. It has 2.4 million people in it. Almost all of the country is like barren desert wasteland. Like there's almost no one there. They have like little cities here and there where there's people, but and they're rich in resources. They're rich in oil, they're rich in diamonds and
Wow.
like lithium. And so I'm like, you know what they should do? They should just negotiate some terms with the Namibians, the Namibians, the Nabibs, and just get them to agree to like section off part of Namibia and let all the Kurds live there and like mine all the resources and like that would give them jobs and give them like planned cities. Like I don't know.
That'd
like,
be interesting. I mean,
that, right?
well, you'd be significantly displacing those people, though, in the sense of like, whenever you.
They would be free from violence, though.
That's
You know?
true. That's true. But I mean, I'm sure they take it. I just mean that's like a huge jump, though, right? Like they're going from like Middle East to like South Africa, which is a huge. I mean, that's a completely different area of the world. You know, it's not like you're like.
Southern Africa.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, no. I mean, that's not a bad idea, though. I mean, you know,
But
what I mean?
like, there's got to be an area where like Greenland is like, hey, let's give some of their land to Kurdistan, or like, dude, like,
Kurdistan.
why can't America give up some of the Alaskan islands that we're not using? Like, why can't we just, I don't know, let's let like a few of the Kurdish people live there? It'd be a big humanitarian effort to like help all those people.
Just give them Alaska.
Yeah, dude, it just sucks. It's like it's kind of like what's happening in Xinjiang in China. That's where all the Uyghur Muslims are. That's what they call them, the Uyghur Muslims. And it's just this people group that was taken over by China whenever the borders were drawn.
Really?
Yeah, during the start of communism, and is way out west in like Western China. And I don't know if you knew, like 97% of China lives in the east, in the eastern half. There's like almost no one in the west. There's like this diagonal line that you can draw from like the edge all the way down in China, and 97% people live here, and like 3% live there.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's why the population feels so dense, is because it's like the population density is about the density of Massachusetts throughout the whole country, in that half, you know.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
And so they took over that people group, and they're literally like putting people in what they call re-education camps in Xinjiang, and they're using mass sterilization, and they're making their language illegal. And I'm like, dude, why can't you just move all these people somewhere else? Like, if you want that to, but they don't want to give up. I get China not wanting to give up land and not wanting to, but like, come on, man. It's like,
well,
I feel like a lot of problems can be solved by people just being moved somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Or even just people being respectful and kind. And I don't mean like in like a. I mean like.
Yeah, that's not something you can change, though.
No, but what I mean is that them just saying, "Hey, look, we recognize that we took this land. We're going to keep the land, but we're going to allow you to leave. We're going to, you know what I mean? Well, you know what I mean? They're like, that's what I mean. Just saying, hey, look, this is our land. You know what I mean? But you're free to leave. You know what I mean? And I know that sounds like intense, but I'm just saying sometimes they're not free to leave. Like you're just saying, like sometimes they're kept there.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like, and I'm like, I wish something could be done about the Kurds and about the North Koreans. You know what I mean? And about I don't know. I feel like so many problems could be solved. Just move people here. There's just so many barren spots of land. There's so many spots of land across the world that no one's living in. No one. You know?
Yeah, but I mean, how habitable are some of those places for real, though?
Well, in Africa, Namibia,
Yeah.
it's definitely habitable.
What about?
There's definitely some eco.
We need to get some people on Antarctica. I'll tell you that. That's my next move. I'm moving to.
There actually are some people living. Have you seen like videos on like the South Pole Research Center?
Yeah, the research center. Yeah, I've seen.
It's so cool.
Yeah, I know people are living there for that, but I'm saying like an actual like community of people. That'd be like, dude, let's start the first church in Antarctica.
Yeah. Do you know that they wanted? I was watching a video on like how each continent got its name, and they actually wanted to call Antarctica Australia. They were like, the next continent we find is going to be Australia, but then they found that Australia first, and then they just named that Australia, and then they had to come up with a different name for Antarctica because they thought there's this huge. They were looking for the land. They thought that if they kept heading south, like down to the South Pole, they heard there's like a giant landmass there, and so they headed south in the Pacific, and they hit Australia first. Yeah.
That's funny, dude. Could you imagine the one guy who got to name Australia? The next one I name, I swear to you, will be Australia. It's my turn.
Yeah. And then the Americas were named after Americo Vespucci. And then Europe is like such a weird one because they said they think it could be from this town called, there's like different towns across Europe called like Europa, Italy, or something like that, Greece.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And I think that's where the name came from. Same with Asia. Like there's like certain tribes of like native people that were like they think could be where the word Asia comes from.
Is Asia like universally? Because I know, like for instance, like Spain is called Spain in English, but it's called España or something like that. I think in Spanish.
German is Deutschland in Germany.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that like it is like, so Spain obviously wasn't called Spain by the Spanish. Do you get what I'm saying? And same with German. It wasn't called Germany. It was called Deutschland. Like, right? Like, so.
But I think that with a lot of those continental terms like Europe and Asia, if they don't call it Europe and Asia, they call it like a slight variant of it, like Europa, or.
Well, something. I just wonder though. Yeah, maybe it's Europa though. But I'm saying if it was Europa, right? Then I mean that would be different enough to where, like you just said, they have several cities named Europa specifically. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that change, I think, would be significant enough to where you're like, well, that would make a lot. Because if they're all called Europa, and then they're like, oh yeah, let's call this land Europe though, that'd be kind of odd. There's not one Europe; they're just all Europa. You know?
Yeah, or they named it. Remember, I was telling you, there's so many Springfields in America. They should number them. They should be like, hey, I'm from Springfield 6.
Yeah.
Because by the way, Keely told me about that. Remember, me and you were trying to find examples where there's two different cities in the same state with the same name.
Yeah.
And we found there's actually two different Tuscahos in New York. Yeah, remember we were talking about that?
Yeah. Tuscaho.
And there's also two different of the same one in Colorado. Colorado has two different towns of the same name. I'll have to ask Kaylee what it is, but
Yeah, no, that's cool, dude. I almost want to do. I almost want to found a city. How do you even find a city? Like, how does that? How do you found a city?
well, Milton Hershey did it in the 1800s. He purchased a ton of acreage in Pennsylvania, and he built a factory there for his Hershey, and he called it Hershey, Pennsylvania. And then and then all the towns and houses and businesses spread up around that. And
Yeah,
so
you know, I was just
you
thinking.
could do it through a factory, through a
Yeah,
big factory.
I was about to say that you could just start a business in its own and create a city, and then you could just there you go. You know what I mean? Because you're right. Because everybody would want to build houses around there. That'd be prime real estate. You know what I mean? Especially if you have a big enough factory.
Jeff Bezos owns 300,000 acres in Texas. 300,000. And so that is enough acreage that you could put a giant city on that in
Well, yeah. I mean, if he owned only 100 acres, though, he could still create a city. I mean, I've been
that's
in
what I'm
town.
saying. No, but I'm saying like Jeff Bezos has a huge
yeah.
potential. And
What do
he
you
could put what?
What do you think you'd call it?
Probably just Bezos, Texas.
Amazon, Texas.
Yeah, maybe Amazon. I think it's kind of weird that it's even called Amazon because there's a book. It was a book website. That's how it started. So I'm like, what is it?
Yeah. Well, because they had the books A to Z. I think Amazon was just like a very specific. It kind of satisfied his needs.
If anything, that makes me think of like anti-environment. Like they're cutting down all the rainforests in the Amazon to build all their trees to like make all that paper for their books.
Dude, did you hear? I heard these people say this thing the other day when I was at a bookstore. They said that Britney Spears, she was going to release her. This isn't true, and I don't know why they even said it because I just thought that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. Britney Spears was going to release her memoir, you know, like her tell-all memoir, and they were going to release it this year, but they were really worried that they're going to run out of paper because it's going to be so popular, like the publishers. And I'm like, are you kidding me? We have like an abundance of paper. I don't think that's ever been anybody's worry, ever.
Maybe like a certain style of paper and their certain format or something
That's
like
crazy,
that.
though, dude. Come on, that's the most ridiculous thing I've. The book's gonna be so pop. People, I love books, but I mean, come on. You think a book's ever been so popular? People have been concerned about the paper. Oh, we just don't have enough of the resources to achieve the mass popularity.
Those are the two biggest things. So it's like I care about the environment. I am a Republican, and I know Republicans aren't like super big on the environment, but I am. But like I'm not like when it comes to trees, I just don't care about trees. I'm sorry. Like I care about the environment in terms of like plastic pollution, like waste, like dumping oil, stuff like that. When it comes to like trees, there's literally an endless resource of trees. There's more trees now than there were in like 1492. I don't know if you knew that. When Columbus discovered North America, they think that there's more trees.
Well, they think. I was about to say they.
It's
The
hard. It's
word.
hard.
Yeah, I was about to say because I mean, and also though, I do want to say you're comparing 1492 when like large spread urbanization wasn't like a thing, right? Like that's why it would be really hard. That's why I don't think there'd be more trees necessarily, but I do think there's a lot more awareness around trees, and I do think that
There's
the
more
good news about
trees than
yeah.
there were in the 1800s for sure.
Yeah. The good news about trees too, though, is that you can grow them. You know, I know that it takes a while to grow, but I'm saying you can grow them. You know what I mean? Like we have a lot of people planting trees. We have a lot of things, and I love trees, by the way. So I'm different than that, but like I do
I
think
like trees, but I don't think that. I just think saving trees is kind of dumb, a little bit. Don't you think?
I know I think saving trees is good, but I think also just being aware of like how we use resources is really a positive thing, right? Like
Yeah, like sustainable.
yeah, because I'm thinking even things like hemp paper, you know what I mean? Hemp paper was used in the 1800s for things, you know, and yeah, and I'm saying like that's definitely something we could tap more into, you know, and so I'm saying like just being aware of how much we're relying upon a singular resource, whatever it is always important because I mean if we lose a resource, I mean that's you know what I mean we're like imagine we just have gas, like they're like yeah, we lost gas for a week.
Well, that's it. That's actually a big thing. It's like one of the reasons why I used to be against electric cars because I wasn't a big fan of them. But then one of the things that made me kind of for electric cars is that it makes it to where the oil that we're using, because there's only a finite amount of oil. Once you
Yeah,
use it, it's gone. And so it's like part of me is like I kind of like that there's a smaller percentage of gas cars and diesel cars because then there's less. The oil that is in the earth right now will last longer and longer. For
Yeah, and
which is kind of nice.
yeah,
And it might bring down the cost of gas.
yeah, and just even well, but even just thinking about logically, I mean, electric cars are just the way. I mean, if you could just charge your car up and it would last. I mean, if me and you went on a road trip and you just had to give it one charge before we left, and you have to do it for the rest of the time, I mean, that would be a no-brainer.
The problem is that it takes 45 minutes to charge your car.
Well, what I'm saying is okay. So what I'm saying is, you come into my right. You come over to my house, right? Do you remember we were going to Utah? You come over to my house. You stay the night, right? We just hang out. You know what I mean? I'm saying you plug it in overnight. You sleep 8 hours. You wake up in the morning. You're good to go for the rest of the trip. And every time though, I'm saying, and you would only drive.
I can't drive straight through though. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know, but I'm saying not right now. But I'm saying technology will get up to the point to where, you know, and that's why I always tell people the future of like technologies and batteries. By the way, if you want to make a lot of money, get in the battery business, because batteries for phones, for everything, people, because it just makes sense. Like, it just, why wouldn't you? It's endless supply of energy. You know what I mean? It's not like there's no limit to how many times I can charge my phone. Go ahead.
Sorry, that's going to be a problem too, because I've been thinking about that. Like the battery minerals, like nickel, magnesium, lithium. There's a finite amount. Can't make more of those. That's how much there is. How much there is.
Yeah, that's why you're gonna have to change the way you view batteries, though, right? You're gonna have to create batteries that are rechargeable, that are like continue, like just they don't run out like that. You know what I mean?
They've created nickel-free batteries that are used in some cars now, because nickel, for some reason, nickel is like super hard to get a hold of. Nickel and cobalt. Cobalt's another. No. Yeah, it was cobalt free. Cobalt's super hard to get to find in the Earth's crust, and just because of how it's not as hard to find as like rare metals like tantalum, obviously, but like
yeah.
But so they've created. I think what'll happen is they'll keep the evolution of the battery is going to keep evolving until you're going to need like less and less rare earth minerals to like create.
That's what I'm saying, though, is that you're just going to get to the point to where it just logically makes sense that this would occur. You know what I mean? Because why not use, again, I can recharge my iPhone 100 times and the batteries, you know, and don't get me wrong, batteries run out. But what I mean is that's not like gas, where it's like you literally, I have to go fill it up, right? It's like you said, it's so much more expendable in terms of how quickly it goes, you know? But I'm saying, you know what's crazy to me? I found out this out. I always, whenever I hear this stat, it's always like crazy to me to hear this fact, is that we've only gone down in the earth, like the whole crust. We've only gone down like through the upper mantle, I believe. Like, we haven't even gone to the second layer of the earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're in the crust. We haven't ever pierced the crust
before. Yeah, the crust, yeah. So does it go crust and then upper mantle and lower mantle?
Yeah. So we've never even touched the mantle.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy though. You know what I mean? I'm saying that's like I mean, we literally are creating, and we have surgeries that I'm sure people didn't think would exist in, you know, the 1800s, because the technology that we have now is insane. And, you know, we have freaking iPads, you know what I mean, where you can touch a screen, and like, you know, we're living in the future, but we can't even get below the crust of the earth. Like, I don't know, it just seems crazy.
I think the biggest problem is pressure and heat, because like just the heat, like there's no equipment that exists in the world that you could keep cool enough for long enough that would drill it. And it gets harder and harder too. So it's like you need like diamond bits to like shred it with the earth. You know?
Well, it's crazier too though, because like, I mean, I remember you say this all the time. You bring up how we can't like fix fingers, you know? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the soft tissue damage in your finger whenever you jam your finger.
You can't. Yeah, you can't fix it. And to me, that's like crazy, because I'm saying, like, again, we can literally stop so many issues. Like, we cured polio. Like, we have diseases that literally render people like paralyzed that we don't even have to deal with anymore, because we have you know what I mean? We have all these cures for them.
You can use radiation to take people's cancer away in some circumstances.
Yeah. And it's like, it's crazy, because I'm saying, but then you can't fix a simple finger mistake, you know, like a simple finger issue. It's like, I don't know, it's so weird, because we're like specifically this time period, because we're like right on this brink of like where we can start doing like really crazy things, but we're still kind of normal. Like, we're still kind of stuck to like this normality that we, you know.
My biggest thing is blindness. So it's like there's such a small amount of things we can do. I mean, you can give you a seeing eye dog or a stick. And other than that, like if your corneas get detached, that's it. You don't see forever. And it's like, now they do have eye transplant surgeries. But I don't even know. You don't even hear about those even happening as often as you think you would. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I mean, you just said a seeing eye dog or a stick, and I mean that sounds like you're in the 18th century. Like those sounds like that doesn't even sound like we have modern solutions to the issue here. We had freaking iPads and walls. Like we had like what do you know what I mean? Why are we using sticks still like as a solution? You know, I mean, it's kind of it also is funny because I was about to say like whenever I think of like how much light the world has changed. Like so, my great grandma's 87, I think, 90. She was born in like the 30s, right? And I'm like, dude, when she went to school, she didn't. Black people didn't even sit in her classroom. Like that wasn't a thing, right? And I'm like, that's crazy. And so I'm like, imagine how much she's seen the world change. Now imagine that times 100, right? Because the world that me and you live in, imagine when we're at 87. We're gonna be like, man, I remember when we had dogs, and they're gonna be like, dogs? Dogs? You know what I mean?
That would be crazy if dogs were extinct. Oh my gosh.
But
Dude, so many people
it's gonna be like crazy. I don't know. It's crazy when you think of how much it's gonna change, you know, like the fluctuation. I mean, especially with the internet just accelerating growth at such a high rate.
Yeah, I've thought about that too. Yeah, my grandma is like 94. She's getting up there.
Yeah. Dang, dude. Your grandma? Did you say your grandma?
Oh yeah, great grandma. The one that we.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah.
She lost her sight like not too long after me and you visited. She like finally went. Yeah.
She can't see anymore?
No, she can't see anymore. She had macular degeneration. So like we were one of the last things she ever saw.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
Dude, well, I mean,
we're get a good run. 94 years of working eyes. I mean, that's a long time.
It's a pretty good run.
She's about to turn 90. She turns 95 this month. I think her birthday's in January.
That's a dynasty, a 94-year dynasty.
I know.
But no, dude, the last image she saw was you throwing up the toilet, asking her, "Hey, was that cinnamon bread you gave us? Was that good or bad?"
It had to be. All right. So for those of you who don't know, me and Bobby took a trip across the country. I like had food poisoning. That was like the worst. Probably the second worst I've ever had ever. And I was like burping these acid burps that were like, I mean, just tell the audience, but it was like worse than a fart.
They were I would have wished he would farted. He threw up in his mouth. Yeah, he threw up in his mouth, and he sharted himself several times throughout this voyage.
And then I actually threw up like just in
the snow. You know what's worse too, though? Like after you threw up, I thought it would get better, but it didn't. Like it didn't. It got worse actually.
It was bad for like a week after. Like I was in Utah for like a week, and I was still feeling bad.
Dude, It was so bad. I don't even like. It was so bad to where like if it wasn't freezing outside, I would have rolled down the window. Like I would have stuck my head out.
You were trapped in the car with those burps.
And on top of that, dude, I couldn't even like go to the back because you had all this stuff in the back. I couldn't even move around. I had to stay in one.
You could barely be in the front.
Yeah, and I'd float towards me this cloud of awfulness, and you'd always go, "Oh, sorry." You know, you'd always say sorry at the end of it as if. But I mean, at some point, it was like, dude, just don't even talk. Like, don't. You're making it worse. The smell is coming out of your mouth more now. Like you're trying to contain it, try to hold it in.
I tried to even breathe it out because I would taste it every time I burped it because I couldn't stop it. It was almost like, like you have those rolling burps where it's just, you feel the air coming and it's just.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's not like a burp you intentionally burp out.
It's not there's no beginning. It just kind of arises.
The air kind of just, and then it just comes out. The air kind of.
It's so weird. It's so weird too, though, because when a couple of those times when you burped, I almost thought what did you eat? What did you consume that was significant what I ate?
You all ate the same thing. That's the problem. We were eating the same thing. I can't think of it. So we had cinnamon bread that was in a freezer that we ate, that we liked, and we had pizza. So it had to have been something with the pizza, I think.
Or no, and then we also had cereal, but it probably wasn't the cereal.
I don't know. Sour milk. I think sour milk I would have just vomited. I don't think I would have.
That's what I'm trying to say. It could have been the pizza because it could just sat in there.
Because sour milk, you feel queasy and then you throw up. You don't feel queasy and have diarrhea and are sick for 2 weeks.
And question why you exist right now.
I literally took Tums and then vomited like 20 minutes after I took Tums. Like,
Dude.
I don't know what the Tums did.
So we pulled into the gas station for the audience. We pulled into a gas station, right? Like into this, like, because we had to take a completely different route. We weren't on an interstate. We had to go like back roads because there was a snowstorm. There's a long story. We'll probably share this at some other point, like the more of the details of the story. But anyways, we pull into this gas station, and Ethan has to go in to use the restroom. And when you go in there, I don't know if you remember, but like you go in there like what, like 10:40, you know? And so I go in there and I'm like, yeah, I'll just walk around and I'll, you know, because I had been sitting in the car, I'll walk around and get something to eat. Right. Well, the gas station person goes over to me, is like, hey, you know, how long is your friend going to be? And I was like, I don't know, you know, he's kind of sick. And she goes, oh, well, we're closed, just so you know, right? And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll go like let him know, you know, to like hurry up, you know. And I went in there and I go, hey, Ethan, and you go, yeah, please. And I was like, hey, buddy, they're closed, like, and then I heard, I'll try, plan, like more, and you just like, it was awful. It was awful. And then I think you spent like an hour. I think you literally spent like, and then I remember each time.
We were there way after they were closed.
Yeah, she kept tapping her watch. You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, I know. He's sick. I don't. Like, dude, you were in there so long. It's not a joke. You were in there so long that actually another customer came in, and he's like, "Are you guys closed?" And she's like, "We should be." And he's like,
"So should be."
Yeah, so you're
that
not.
Was a bit. Was she a bit passive aggressive at that point?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then I just talked to this guy. I mean, this guy just had a conversation with the clerk. And the whole time she's like, you know what I mean? I was like, yeah, you know, me and my friend. And every time I'd mention you, she'd look over at me. Like over at where you were at in the bathroom, obviously. But yeah, it was bad too. It was tough. It was tough to even like, you know, to even like be there and in that experience. Because the thing is too, though, is that like some people, when they hear like think of throw up, they throw up themselves, and it's like, I'm not like that, but I mean that's the closest I've ever gotten, because I've never smelled somebody's breath that was that, or you know, bio in their stomach that smelled like that. Seriously, what did you eat though? Because I ate more than you, right? Do you remember? Because we stopped by a couple gas stations and I ate more food than you.
I definitely ate more cinnamon bread than you did. That was the only thing
you ate a lot of cinnamon bread. And, okay, I guess you might have eaten like one pizza slice more than me.
I felt like we were pretty even. I thought we went like slice for slice.
I mean, we went mostly slice for slice. I'm not saying we didn't. I just mean if you did eat one more, I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised.
But I had like 17 pieces of cinnamon bread.
Like, I don't know. The cinnamon bread
was like a loaf and a half.
Maybe you OD'd on cinnamon bread.
I don't know. Maybe you like to think if there was bacteria that make you sick, that if you even, I don't know how it works though. I don't know if like if you eat one bite of it versus eating a bunch of it, it's like pretty much get the same result or not. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, certain things like, you know, like you can, like if you got herpes, you know, if you get herpes twice, you know, I mean, is that double the herpes or is it just singular herpes?
You can't get herpes twice. When you have it, that's it. You got it. You got all of what it is.
What I mean is, though, is that with every other, like if you get the flu, can you get a double flu? Yeah. I think what happened was most likely is that one of the batches, because you said you ate about like a loaf and a half, we probably ate from the same loaf, and then you probably ate another loaf that was bad. Do you get what I'm saying? Like you ate from a different loaf.
Everyone I told in my family about it, they're like, "Well, it couldn't have been the cinnamon bread." They immediately ruled that out because that was like the big thing that she likes to make. I'm like,
dude, the cinnamon bread was delicious. No, for real though, the cinnamon bread was really good.
It was good. It was awesome. But I'm like, she pulled it out of her freezer. That bread could have been there from 2016 for all I know.
It wasn't there from 2016. I mean,
it could have been there for a year. It honestly could have. That's not that insane to think. And now it was like a hard brick, like it was like a rock when she pulled it out. So there, I mean, I know that does keep the bacteria from forming. So I mean, I don't know.
I'm assuming it could have. I feel like it might have been the pizza even, because the thing is that you think about it, one piece of the pizza could have had bacteria on it that the other pieces didn't. Theoretically, you know what I mean?
Yeah, one guy he could have sneezed on one piece. He's like, I feel bad for whoever got this. That could have. By the way, that bacteria that I got could have killed my great grandmother. Like if she got that poisoning, oh my gosh, I don't know what would have happened to her. She.
Yeah, dude, that's true. Is that the sickest you've ever been?
No, so I say it's the second worst food poisoning I've ever had. The worst I've ever had was in Tornado Palms. It was I was going through training there, and I had bad Chinese food from the commissary there.
Hold up, real quick. It's funny how the first, okay, so it's cinnamon bread theoretically or pizza that got you sick, right? And then like, I mean, yeah, anything that got you the sickest would be something like Chinese food, right? It's gonna be some kind of ethnic food, right? There's not gonna be
Something that my body's never digested before, or something
yeah,
like that.
something like,
Yeah,
like airport sushi.
yeah. So it was like Chinese food from a strip mall, and I ate it, and then that day, and the night of, and the next night of, and the morning after, for like 3 days straight. It was 3 days of hell. It was it. I lost 12 pounds in 2 days
Crap.
of water weight. So what happened was I threw up everything that I could throw up, and then I dry heaved, and then I threw up water, and then when I pooped, I kept crapping everything out. Everything was like flushing out to the point where it was nothing but water was coming out. Like I was taking a dump, and like a water would come out of my butt. Like it was like you could put it in a drinking glass. Like that's how clear it was. Like
No,
both ends.
dude.
Like and when I threw up, water. Nothing but because I was like, why am I throwing up water? And my dad was like, because I asked him about it. I was like, your body has expelled everything from its system, but the whatever was in you, whatever he's like, you probably have a parasite of some kind inside you because your body is still thinks it's in there, and it's still just like shooting out all of your body's like so it's pretty much expelling out all of my water weight, like all the
Yeah,
water in the system.
yeah.
And I was super dehydrated. I literally couldn't drink water. I would drink water and I'd throw it up. And so like, and then there was a CFT taking place, which is for those of you who don't know, it's a combat fitness test. It's pretty much so there's two different types of tests. This one was the shorter one, but this one you sprint a half mile like as fast as you can, which sucks. A half mile sprint. Can you imagine sprinting like as hard as you can, but doing it for a half mile?
Yeah.
Dude, it sucks. It sucks as bad as it sounds.
It
And you do
sounds
that, and you do that in boots too. Like they don't let you wear running shoes. And then
at least. No, I'm just joking.
and then you do ammo can lifts. The ammo can is full of sand, and it's like 60, 70 pounds. And you have to go like this. And you have to see how many of those you can get in like 2 minutes, which that really sucks too. And then you have to do this like obstacle course thing where you like run back and forth around, and you have to carry people, and then you have to like carry a bunch of stuff, and you have to like run. It's like a suicide almost.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And I did that in the middle of like the food poisoning thing that was going on, and I kept telling my instructor like I can't do this. Like I need to go to the hospital. Like please take me to the hospital. Like because I was literally like I might collapse. Like I might have heat stroke. Because of how much how dehydrated I was.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, you have to do it. And so I put on my trousers and I went. And when we did the half mile run, I was running, and there was a guy behind me, and he was running, and I was running, and I had like the water diarrhea shot out, like right out, and so he looked at like my pants, and he just saw like and it was like dark. And he ran past me and he's like, dude, what the heck? Like and then I threw up, and then I crapped my pants, and then I went and I had like really bad diarrhea after that and during it. And then after that I did the ammo can lifts. And there's a guy like in front of you like this, counting as you do the repetitions for the ammo can lifts. And so on one of the ups, I threw up like right in the guy's face, and it was water, but it was like slimy water. It was like water with some like with like viscosity to it. And so I threw up, and then I went back down and I kept going. And he's like, God, and he like got all in his eyes.
72.
Yeah, like he kept.
Dude,
it was crazy. And I lied about the obstacle course. I just said I did it when I did it. Because I was already so messed up.
Yeah. Dude, okay, I got a couple things. First off, I thought it was really funny how you like called your dad and he's like the expert. What if he just lied to you? Like, you know, like what if, I mean, like, I'm not saying your dad would do that, but I just mean it would be really funny. Like, you know, you're like, Dad, I don't know what's going on. He's like, well, actually, son, that's it. You know, and he pretends, you know what I mean? He just does it to like make you feel better. He has no idea. He's like,
That's a symptom of gay sex, from what I've heard.
no, but I mean, like, what if, no, but I mean, like, it would just funny though. Like, you know how you see those people in movies who are always the doctors and they're like, oh no, you're going to rip or scientists, they're like, oh no, you're going to rip the space-time continuum. You know, they always say things that like sound like they're saying something. They're never really saying anything. You know, I'm saying, what if your dad was like that? Well, actually, son, you know, your body is, and you're like,
gonna tear open your epiglottis. You keep growing up.
And you're like, yeah, and you're like, Dad, I don't know what that helps me with. Like, okay, like when am I gonna get better? Like, what, you know, what, you know, it's just so funny to like think that your dad could do that so easily because you're in such a vulnerable state and you wouldn't even know. You like, he could be like, yeah, you're gonna die. You're dead. You're dead in 5, 4. You know, and you're like,
surprised you're alive right now.
The other thing is, I remember calling you. I'm pretty sure, dude, when you were doing that. Was that when you were on the toilet for like 24 hours and you said your legs were like numb?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, and it wouldn't stop. And it was like burning too. It was like I was dumping fire, like liquid fire out of my butt.
Dude, I remember you told me your roommate had to like throw up, right? Because he was like too drunk. He had to throw up, I think, and you said he just threw up on the floor because you were on the toilet or something. You said like, or maybe
I was in the bathroom for too long, and so he got super drunk. He had like multiple pitchers of beer at the bowling alley we were at, and so what do you naturally do when you're drunk and about to throw up? You lay face down on the bed. That's what you do, and that's what he did. And this blast of vomit was so intense that his whole body went like that's how bad the blast like force was so intense. And then he went those. And then one of my other roommates said he grabbed him by the shoulders and like pulled him so he didn't like choke on his own vomit. And while he pulled him, he's like, and he like sprayed like another like hose of vomit out, like
that's funny.
Like wherever he like pointed his face, because whenever he pointed his face, he was just gonna keep hosing down the room.
Do it on Downing's bed. They like he pulls out his hair and he like sprays it on your bed.
He like was
different nozzle settings. He can do like a mixed.
If you like plug his nose and it'll come out even harder. No, but like he was literally crawling on his hands and knees, covered in vomit, like throwing up on the ground. It was so bad.
Oh, man, that's awful. Dude, by the way, speaking of dry heaving, because you brought up dry heaving, I was gonna say dry heaving is like one of the 5 worst pains I think people could like experience, like in terms of like common pain. So like stubbing your toe would have to be up there for me. I think dry heaving though is I literally anytime I dry heave I hate it. So like I always tell people this too. I force myself to like throw up before my body will throw up because I just don't even want to dry heave. I don't even want to have that as a possibility.
I always want to avoid throwing up because I just don't like it. For me, the vomit is really painful. I don't know. I mean, it's painful. Is it painful for you to throw up?
No, it's not. The first part isn't. Like if I force myself to, no. If I do it by chance, by happenstance, like for instance, like I'm so sick, and I just throw up out of nowhere, it's awful. It's awful. Yeah, of course it's awful because you're not,
But if you're like sitting with it for hours feeling sick.
Yeah. And then also I'll be like, oh man, my stomach's hurting me. I've done this a couple times. I've been like at a party. I'm like, man, dude, I must have drank too much. And I'll straight up just like, I'll go to the bathroom. I'll just straight up, finger my throat a little bit. Yeah, I'll give it a little touch and go, and and yeah, dude. And then I'll throw up and then I'll get up and be like, yeah, I'm good, and I'll go back out to the party.
I've only done the finger thing and had it work one time. Because it was so I actually I don't know if I told you this, so I threw up the day after I got married. It was the morning after I got married. I like vomited like 5 times.
Why?
So me and Kaylee, after we got married, we went to this Italian place. I think it was called Carrabba's. Do they have Carrabba's there?
Yeah, they have Carrabba's.
Yeah, it was like one of those. It was almost identical to Carrabba's, but I think it might have had a different name.
Right? I know what you mean. It's like a chain Italian kind of fancy, like a little higher class. Yeah.
Yeah, they had like 6 or 7 of them.
They have like a little bit of Sinatra in the back, maybe. It's one of those. Yeah.
And so I got food poisoning from that, and I threw everything up the next morning. And I was like sick from because it was like an hour and a half back to our place, and I was sick in the car ride back to the like that's how quickly it set in. I was like, yeah, and I was sick the entire night, and I was sick that next morning, and I was sick into like noon, and then I like stood up for the first time in like 16 hours, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna throw up. And so I just went to the bathroom, and I was like, I'm gonna throw up, and I was about to throw up in the sink, and then Kaylee's like, no, you should throw up in the trash can, and so she moved the trash can over, and I literally just went, and then just, and then just did
I
it.
love how even your motion of this though looked very like you looked like you were going like with your full fist. You're like, and then I went, and then like I was saying like it was like you're very like whenever I do it like you gotta like finesse your mouth into it. You know what I mean? I'm saying like
You
you
know,
went
for
like
me, the only reason why it worked is because I was about to throw up one way or
yeah
another.
yeah.
Like
Anyways,
you know that heavy feeling in your stomach and a heavy feeling like in the back of your throat where you're like, okay, it wants to come out. Like you know what
yeah.
I mean?
There's like this thing in your throat. I think that actually stops it. I don't know. It feels like it at least. It feels
That's
like
the epiglottis. It's like a flap. So like you know like people say, oh, it went down the wrong pipe and they cough something up.
yeah yeah.
So in your throat, in the canal, there's like something that goes like
Like,
that,
you know
and then that little
yeah
flap, it goes into your lungs, like it like lets in air, like so you can breathe. And then so when you swallow something, it closes, so then the food can
yeah
go down. You know. So sometimes if they breathe in, they suck some food or some
yeah
like liquid back up. You know.
yeah yeah. What I mean though is that is it actually? Do you think there's actually something stopping it, or I feel like that's just because I feel it right here too, like right here in these like two nodes of my neck. You know that swell actually.
Tonsils.
Is it your tonsils right
Your
here?
tonsils are right here.
And
Yeah.
it's your tonsils. Yeah, I feel it every time I have to like. If that ever happens, I feel a heaviness in my tonsils.
So your tonsils, they're like when they're swollen, they'll be like the size of like dimes. I know because I've had a sore throat and I've had like strep throat almost every year of my life, and I've been wanting to get my tonsils removed so I don't get them anymore. Your tonsils are just there to filter out bacteria, and they swell up, and they whenever they get something they don't like, and
It's I don't like.
and they get inflamed whenever you throw up. The stomach acid like inflames your tonsils sometimes. You know.
Wow.
I want to get them cut out, dude. I wish I've seen a video of a tonsillitis surgery before, and it's like so. It's almost like you're clipping someone's nails. Like they take this thing that looks like a nail clipper down your throat, clip, clip, and then they just pull them out.
Sometimes I
Really,
wonder. Sometimes I wonder how much of the stuff you say is like just you making it up on the spot. But no, I'm
no, dude, that's
no, no,
real.
but I just mean sometimes you're like, oh
That's
yeah,
what it
that's
looks.
actually that's called your indifferent. You know what that is, right? It's no, it's
That
just
actually does sound like a medical term.
I'm just saying it's funny though because like I wonder like it's just funny to think about. Like you like by the way, everything I just told you was absolute crap. No,
I got an abscess in my throat when I had mono. My ex girlfriend gave me mono right around. I think would have been in 2019, and I had like an abscess in my throat. And I had
was
to
this
have
was this way is this when you guys like first met each other or like
no, it was like right after we broke up. I was like right
oh god.
during and after that I got mono from, and it was definitely from her because she was the only person I kissed, and because you get it from kissing and stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's actually you don't just get it from kissing, you also get it from other things. But yeah. I mean it's mostly kissing. That's why it's called the kissing.
Well, that was
Uh,
the only thing it could have been for me. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
And so
Well, it could other like I know I've heard people because
touch a door handle, maybe. Could I get it from like touching?
well, no, somebody could cough in their hand, and then they could touch. You know what I mean? They could touch something, and
Oh,
then
and
you,
I could touch my face or something.
yeah. Um,
It could have been
or you
something
could
like
even
that.
like somebody could have coughed and just not even forgotten about it, and then they could have served you food, and then you could eat in the food. You know, I mean, there's a bunch of different ways you could get it. You know,
So the
but yeah,
guy, I went to the hospital because I could hardly breathe, and the guy's like, "So you're at a point where it's difficult for you to breathe, but so what we could do is we could take this long syringe and like take out all the pus from the abscess and inside your throat, but you'd have to like put it in my throat." I'm like, "Ugh, I don't want to." Or you could just wait for it to pop on its own, and then you'll have to like cough everything up. I'm like, and so I
what
just went. And this was when I was visiting my parents in Oregon. This was when they lived in Oregon, and I just visited them in Oregon, and it popped when I was in Oregon, and it tasted awful. I had to like spit everything out.
Was it a lot of stuff?
It was like almost a golf ball sized thing. My throat. It was nasty, dude. Not good.
Yeah, this subject.
I am sorry if you're eating while you're listening to this podcast. All 2 viewers who have watched up to this point, both of you are still in this.
I guess, yeah. I guess we're not really getting a lot of viewership right around this time, so we just want.
What do you say?
I said we just say anything we want.
We could. That's not, okay. Yeah. So Mike Myers is dead.
What? You can say anything right now. That's what you come up with?
I don't know. That's what I came up with. Yeah.
Dude, I think the name Abraham's a cool name. Would you name a kid Abraham?
There's actually a guy here in town named Abraham. Yeah. I
cool?
don't know. Yeah, he's a nice guy. I don't know if I like it as much. I like a lot of those old Hebrew names. A lot of American names that people name their kids come from like Hebrew names. Like my name is Hebrew. David, like that's a Hebrew name.
Ethan's a Hebrew name? I thought it was a Anglo-Saxon name.
No, because there's actually an Ethan in the Bible.
There's an Ethan in the Bible?
Yeah, Ethan the Ezrite. He's mentioned in 1 Kings, and he wrote Psalm 89. I want to say.
Dude, what if there was like, yeah, there's actually an Ethan in the Bible, we just don't talk about it that much. I'm like, oh, what are you talking about? And you're like, Ethan the village idiot.
Yeah, but yeah, there's a lot of English now. I'm not trying to Joseph, Joshua, a lot of those names, like they're all Hebrew. Caleb.
Cool. Yeah, Jacob.
Sarah. A lot of those. Rebecca, Rachel.
Isaac. Isaiah. Isaiah.
Yeah, that's super Jewy.
Super Jew. That's.
I always get Isaac and Isaiah confused. I always like keep
Which
that
one
in mind myself. Isaac came first. He was the son of Abraham.
No, I'm saying which one do you prefer? Yeah, I know.
I like Isaac. I don't like any names with the Aya at the end. The IAH, like Elijah, Elisha, Jeremiah, Isaiah, Obadiah.
I like Elijah, but I prefer Isaac because I like the 2 A's right next to each other. I like names that have really odd letter combinations like that.
Yeah, that is kind of cool. He always gets skimmed over because, like, when they talk about the 3 generations a lot, like Abraham, Isaac, and then Jacob, but they spend so much time talking about Abraham and so much time talking about Jacob and like the founding of Israel and his son and stuff like that, and the 12 sons.
Yeah.
But they don't spend they spend a good chunk. I want to say I haven't gotten to that point in Genesis yet, but I want to say they spend like 2 or 3 chapters on Isaac.
Yeah, right around that actually, because that's where I'm at right now. I'm on Isaac right now, yeah.
Oh, really? What chapter are you on?
24, 25. 26 maybe.
Because I'm on 22 and I haven't hit it yet.
Yeah, you're about to hit him. Okay. Because
Okay.
Abraham's about to die. Spoiler alert.
Well, I've hit him. I've hit Isaac in that, like, I've hit him as a kid, but I'm talking like Isaac as an adult, like being, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Where
he like his own story.
He doesn't even. A lot of his story is not even about him.
It's about people around him. Like, if you think he does kind of doesn't get talked about as much because the story about him almost getting sacrificed, it's all about Abraham and God. It's like he's just kind of.
And then when he gets his wife, it's because the servant that Abraham sent out to go find his son a wife. And then Isaac's like, yeah, I'll marry her. And they get married.
Yeah, I know. And then after that, it's all about Jacob and Esau fighting and Isaac being blind and not being able to see. It's like it's more about his sons than it really is about Isaac. You know what I mean?
What does Isaac's name mean? Oh yeah, he who laughs or something, right?
Yeah, because Sarah laughed whenever God said that she would have a kid.
Well, Abraham also laughed. But yeah, both of them. But Abraham laughed. They both laughed, which is funny.
I don't remember a verse where Abraham laughed. Did Abraham
laughed, yeah. Yeah, he laughed, but I don't know if he laughed at the fact that he was going to have a son, but he laughed. So it's like two verses before Sarah laughs.
Because God took serious offense to the fact that Sarah laughed, whereas he didn't. You know what I mean? No,
yeah, I think it was more of. I think when Sarah laughed, it was like that was, I don't know, because I think Isaac or Abraham laughed in a different context. You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably.
But I just thought it was funny they both said they laughed, because I'm like, you don't hear the Bible doesn't say people laugh too often. Like, it's not a very common. And then he chuckled.
Yeah, one of the biggest things that is so confusing for a lot of Christians is that like people don't understand why. So many modern day Christians don't understand why what the significance is behind Israel and the chosen people and the Jewish nation. And it's like it talks about it in Genesis. It's like I will use your people to bless all the people of the earth. Remember it talks about
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
It's like I think that people will forget the reason why God chose any group of people is because he wanted to show like through this group of people that I will protect, I will show through all these stories, I will show you like how I love my people, and that'll be
Yeah.
an example.
Well, and I think another big thing that I find is really difficult, that I find I struggle with, and I'm sure a lot of people struggle with, is like which parts of the Old Testament still apply now, and which parts don't. And I'm not saying like for instance,
Love,
what'd you say?
like the law of Moses listed in like Leviticus and whatnot. Like,
Yeah,
it's like
things like that. Yeah, well, even that, even then, you think about like the relationship that Cain had with God, in the sense of like the way that God just talked to him, or Abraham, anybody in that like early Genesis period, the way God just comes to them and like talks to them, what I mean, like very clearly talks to them, or Moses, I mean, that's not really how God works right now, and this, like, at least since, well, I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't work like that, but I just mean, it's not like we have this like, I mean, they talk about Cain talking to God as if like God was like walking on the earth with Cain, you know what I mean?
different. It was a lot different when there was only like 10 people in the whole world. I think God had a lot closer communion with those
Yeah.
people.
Well,
Because he even says that he walked in the cool of the garden with.
yeah. Yeah, with Adam. I do think though that there was more than 10 people at that time, because when Cain leaves and he goes to another village. Do you remember that? So I
Yeah,
think it's probably closer to like, I don't know, probably 1,000. I mean, I don't know, because it jumps, obviously.
I think just Adam and Eve just kept having kids over and over, and same with Cain and all of their children, because they just all kept living for so long. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like in their lifetime,
Yeah.
they would have seen a lot of people get born and stuff. Because
You,
everyone
what,
was living to.
what do you think the most amount of kids like somebody has ever had is like
It's probably Adam and Eve. I bet they had like hundreds. I bet they did. I mean, they were alive for like 900 years. So
imagine if they didn't though. Like, imagine if they only had two. I mean, I think they actually had three. I think the Bible specifically states they had at least three. There's somebody they have after
three
Cain.
listed, three listed. So
Yeah.
what I've learned from Bible historians is that a lot of times it will say the sons that are born.
Yeah.
Like it says that David had 18 sons with like a bunch of different women, and it says like it'll list like Solomon's sons, and it'll list like Adam had this many sons, or Jacob had 12 sons, and it'll only mention the daughters if there's like a significant story about the daughters. Like it mentioned that Jacob had a daughter named Dinah who got raped in a village, and that's when Simeon and Levi went and like killed everyone in the village. You remember that story?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like we know that he at least had one daughter, but it was like for all we know, a lot of historians think that he could have had even more daughters than sons, but we just don't even
Yeah.
know about.
Yeah. That's true. I just mean, it's funny to think though that like, what if these people had lived like as long as they did and they only had three kids? I just mean that's like a funny thought to me. You're like,
That
man.
is, it's weird too because like back in the day, it was kind of viewed like if you had daughters and they got married, they're just a part of a different family now.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you have a son, that son is going to build up the family with his
Oh,
family.
yeah. Here's a good question. Do you think Abraham had more than Ishmael and Isaac?
Well, it says that he did because remember right near the end of his life, it said he had a bunch more kids. Remember?
Oh, yeah. But I'm saying, do you think he had like more in terms of like I'm saying, like, do you think he had more with like Sarah and then more with Hagar, or do you think there's only two?
I think they would have said. I mean, I don't know. With Hagar, it seems pretty clear there was only one.
Yeah,
Sarah, there could have been a few daughters after. I
I
don't know.
do. Well, after, but so you do think that? So then you would say Isaac was the first, because I feel like it's kind of clear.
The thing is that she's barren. And
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It kind of reads as if she's never had a kid, right? Or else she wouldn't have laughed. You know what I mean? She's just popping out kids every, just it's all been girls. I guess that would be, she
like
popped out.
Gordon Here's a Who. Remember the guy had like 587 daughters and one son? I'm thinking like, dude. That's crazy.
You know what's crazier to think though? Like, imagine if your protector was Horton. Like, he's low key not a very good. Like, he's, I don't know. I mean, I I'd roll the dice again. You know, I mean, I might get Sid from Toy Story, or I might get Andy. You know what I mean? But like, I certainly don't want Horton.
A giant clumsy elephant that like sits on stuff, makes them all the time, and he's holding your little dandelion-sized society in his hand. Because wasn't the entire society inside of like a little dandelion or something?
Yeah, it was like, I think it was a dust particle in the dandelion, or something.
No
Even,
way, like even smaller.
Yeah.
So it's like that thing could accidentally like float off of the dandelion and just go into water and die. Like,
what if a kid? Yeah, what if a kid just walked by and made a wish?
Just went.
I hope
people do that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no. I'm saying no. You just like, it's a really cute wish, so you can't even be mad. I hope my mommy and daddy get back together soon. What?
Well, I guess it was worth it if the wish comes true.
He just completely displaces a whole ecosystem, a whole society. I mean, you know, it's funny though, because I mean, that's a Dr. Seuss like little tale, but like that's kind of how it is, you know. I mean, maybe like obviously we don't have like people, what am I thinking of? We don't have like germs or you know, beings that small that have like such a that have the same agency as us. You know what I mean?
Complex.
Yeah. But I mean, we do have like a giant ecosystem underneath everything. You know what I mean? It's just not, again, it's not, like I said, they don't have the agency or the thought or anything like us, but
there are little single cell, multi-cell organisms that are all around us that we can't see.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Could you imagine though if they did? Like they have their own Patrick Mahomes. He plays for Kansas City too.
Their own league. The PFL. Parasite Football League.
Parasite Football League. It's like a rule where you can only have like a couple parasites on the field at once because the parasite is dominant. Yeah. You have a couple of amoebas on there, you know? Like, what if the amoebas were just a line?
Yeah, or the dust mites are the receivers.
Oh, man. That'd be really
All right, well, we should come up with our hidden gems segment.
Yeah.
I wanted to list a movie I just recently saw, Ricochet. I mentioned it to you. I thought it was pretty good. Wasn't too satisfied with the ending. I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a pretty good movie about a guy that he's a cop that catches. It stars Denzel Washington and John Lithgow, and it's just a good thriller, good crime drama with a little bit of action. So.
That's pretty cool.
What's your hidden gem?
My hidden gem, I'd say, is Body Double, Brian De Palma film. Have you heard of it?
No, dude. I've actually been liking a lot of De Palma's stuff.
Yeah,
I liked Snake Eyes and I liked Blowout.
Snake Eyes. I actually really like Snake Eyes a lot. Yeah, Blowout's great, obviously. Blowout's a favorite.
Body Double. I'm gonna look that up real quick. What's that about?
Body Double. I don't think you're gonna like it as much, but I think the thing is that I think it's one of the best like first 40 minutes I've ever seen of a movie, or first maybe hour I've seen of a movie, and then it kind of gets into weird territory because De Palma's like that, where his movies sometimes don't make a lot of sense because he's really more like he likes to play around with structure and stuff.
Yeah, it kind of doesn't really have very many big names in it. It has Craig Wilson and Melanie Griffith, but
well, Melanie Griffith became huge after that movie. But anyways, yeah, the movie's really, I think the movie's just really well made. And then again, I don't necessarily love the ending, but I love when a really good thriller is told, you know, and I always tell people this, you can tell the same story over and over if you're telling it in interesting ways. You know what I mean? Like, how many times have we seen, you know, the exact same story, but again, like in a new, unique perspective, or you know what I mean?
The Invisible Man's told a bunch of times.
Yeah, exactly. Or King Kong. Yeah, King Kong, or, you know, I mean, every Transformer movie. I don't know why. I was thinking Transporter, and I was like, that's not it. Transporter and Transformer. It's such an odd. It's so funny to me to think that they have a movie titled so similarly.
Yeah.
Transporter, Transformer. But anyways, yeah, Body Double's my hidden gem. I think it's a fantastic little thriller. You know, it's one of my favorite Brian De Palma films, probably second or third.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My favorite obviously is Body Double. But yeah, I'm not Body Double. I meant Blowout, because Blowout's just perfect. But yeah, that's it. You want to give our final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I'm sorry that this episode wasn't as funny as some of our other episodes. I felt like we kind of just dove into all types of
Yeah.
subjects on religion and geography. This is an educational cast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I think it's cool though, because I don't know, that's kind of what it is.
To
It's
share
just
different ideas.
Yeah, it's just us talking. So my final thought would be that yeah, I mean, I think more of this kind of, but with more, maybe like more of a comedic edge,
Yeah.
Moving forward. But like, I mean, like, it's just us talking. That's what's fun about it.
Talking, and I like. It may seem like such a simple art, and I might not even call it an art. It's a simple medium, but like I like hearing some people talk if they have interesting things to say, because like some people they talk and it's not that fun, to listen to.
Yeah.
And maybe that's how you feel about us, but I hope not.
Yeah. For the three of you that made it this far, because I think we might have gained one more in the last video. For the three of you that have made it this far,
it's two now. I'm sorry.
Your grandma became blind. Now it's one.
By the way, sometimes when your hat is like, when you tilt your hat back, it looks like a chef's hat, like a white chef's hat.
Yeah.
It's like that. Yeah. It looks like a little chef, like like the little one that's like. Okay.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, real quick, I want to tell a story. There was this guy that I worked with. He was a chef, and he actually gave me one of those hats. And,
the tall one or the little one?
No, the tall one. And he's like, there you go, Chef Bobby. And I'd wear it around sometimes at work, and he'd be like, Chef Bobby. He's like, he was a real tiny dude though, so he would wear like, I think so. Like, I had a tall hat, but I think he had like an extra tall hat to make himself look taller. You ever seen this?
It's cartoonishly tall.
Yeah, it's like half his body size. Like, is that your upper body just put into a hat? Like what is that? But yeah,
chefs. That's such a funny. I love any job that has a cool hat with it.
They need to do that more. They need to make more cool jobs with hats. Like
policemen. I guess military has a few cool hats. Military. Doctor. Well, I guess nurses used to have that weird thing.
Dude, you know what's weird to think? They literally have the Green Berets. Literally wear a beret, the most artistic like hat you could have. But then they're out there. They're wearing it to kill people, though. Like, do you like?
No, but theirs is like sloped to the side, and it's all like official, and it's tied. The beret that's like a mushroom cap is not nearly as like.
No, but what I mean is, it's funny to me though, in the sense of like, when you think of a beret, you think of an artist, not a murderer. And I don't mean they're murderer, but like, I mean, you know what I mean? They're going out there to like mess people up. They're not going there to like, I'm gonna go paint a beautiful like, a scenic image. Like they're going out there to like. What'd you say?
Eat a croissant.
Yeah, you eat a croissant.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's like so different. It's almost like they shouldn't even really call them berets, because it's like it doesn't have the little thing in the middle, the little like, and it's not like a mushroom cap. It's like straight. It's almost like a normal like fez almost, but like it's sloped over.
You should call them the green machetes, because that sounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that would be cool. Green bullets or something. The green bayonets.
The green bayonets. You know what I mean? Something more terrifying. Something that strikes fear.
I really want to call a action movie The Cleanup Crew, but with 2 Ks. The Cleanup Crew.
They just clean up
your mess.
They clean up murders, dude. I had this idea for a comedy where it was like, The Purge. What they did one where it's like the city has to hire, after the purge, the city has to hire like a cleanup crew.
Oh, like a seasonal worker to like clean up all the bodies and like throw them on a big cart or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, oh god, we have to deal with more blood. Oh god, I just hate blood. He's like cleaning up. It's just spreading the blood everywhere.
You have to like pull the axes out of the guy's like stomach. You're like, and like a bunch of
all over.
Yeah, that would be so funny.
Oh god, it got in my mouth again.
And you're like, oh, I guess Fred went out this year. Good for him. He always said he wanted to go out during the purge.
Fred's like stapled.
He's like,
Fred's like crucified to the.
Yeah. We're like, I wonder how long it took I wonder how long he lasted out here. That's nice.
He's got a thing in it. He's got like a card in his pocket. This is like, be kind to me, boys. Be kind.
Do you think if there was a legitimate purge to happen, like in real life right now, do you think there would be like a ton of murder, or do you think it would be more just a bunch of looting? Do you think?
I think it would be a ton of rape.
Yeah. Well, that goes without saying. There would be an insane amount of that for sure.
Probably shouldn't have said that because of the algorithm, but I mean, for real, that's my first thought. The first thing that I would think would be
we'll bleep that. Sure. Yeah.
There'll be a ton of.
We'll be like, oh, jeez, and you won't know what it is.
I mean, they're not. I'm gonna beep it now, but yeah.
We'll just beep it in the middle, so you can still hear the beginning and the
end.
No,
we'll say it rhymes with grape.
Yeah. Yeah, there would be a lot of sexual assault on the purge if it were to really happen. I don't think there would be as much murder. I don't think there would be people going around chopping people's heads off.
Yeah, I don't think murder would be. I think murder would be like slower to develop. Like the purge, the way they do the movies is like it's been in for a while, right? Like it's been a couple.
It's ramping up.
Yeah, right. Like it's been in for a couple of years now. We've gotten used to it because I'm saying some of those things they show you where they have like full on like rich people buying a person to like kill. They all like get a stab in. Like organized crime like that, I think would take a bit to get into the purge, but I think like it would eventually. But I mean, at first it would be a lot of looting, a lot of like very minor, like a lot of like folk justice where someone's like, you killed my daughter, in a drunk driving accident. So like, what I mean, things like that where people felt like they were, they needed to avenge something. I don't think it would be a lot of organized. I do think also where every crime's legal, I think that's when all of the like drug cartels would move all their drugs through everywhere. Like, what I mean? Like, I don't care.
Tons of traffic. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't care what you have to do, but you have to get it to this location by this time. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, that'd be perfect. That's something they don't show. It's like drug cartels and how they'd act. I mean, that's what would occur, right? They do all their human smuggling, human trafficking, everything would be like done in the open on that day.
Some guy would just open up a pickup truck filled with cocaine and be like, half off, come and get it. Like just in the middle of Times Square.
There's like an hour left in the purge. All right, I got 2 for 50. I got 2 for 50s.
Actually, that would be a terrible time to sell something because then they could just kill you and just take it all. You can't sell anything on the purge. There's no clearance sale on the purge. I'm just gonna kill you and take it.
That's so true. That's so true. It's so funny how true that is.
Like, why would you ever try to like? Oh, that's what I'm gonna sell my grapefruit is on the purge. Really good deal. Like, no, dude. They're just gonna murder you and take everything.
2 for 50. What if I kill you? Wouldn't it just be free? Well, I mean, yeah, pop.
Yeah. That would be so funny.
It's funny. Have you seen the new one, the Forever Purge? It's funny because the whole plot is them getting to Mexico because there's like a Forever Purge in America.
I've been wanting to see the other purges. I've seen the original one, and I've seen the one that came right after that with Frank Grillo. Purge, I think Anarchy is what it's called.
Yeah, Purge Anarchy, I think. Yeah.
I want to see the rest. Are the rest of them good?
I mean, they're on par, right? Like they're in the same area as all the other ones. But the Forever Purge, though, they like the idea is like they have to escape America because there's like a Forever Purge and to get into Mexico. And I remember thinking like, God, dude, if you're only like if your sanctum, like where you're gonna hide out at your safe house is Mexico, like it's bad. Like I'm not saying Mexico's an awful place, but like clearly they have issues within their government. Like they're not the clean, you know what I mean? They're not. It's not a safe place. Yeah. It's not, and it's not like, again, it's not like Mexico's not a beautiful place. It's just more of like if that's the government you're relying on for safety. I mean that's crazy. That's absurd to me.
That's pretty crazy. Like we have to flee to North Korea.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You're like, why? That's crazy.
Yeah. All right. Well.
Yeah. Anyways,
follow us on Facebook and email us at downkirk7@gmail.com if you have any questions, comments, concerns, and or any suggestions.
Yeah, like and subscribe.
Yeah, please subscribe. We're at 10. We finally hit double digits with the subscribers.
Dude, I saw that. Thank you so much for all the 10 subscribers. On our way.
All 10 of you. Thank you so much.
We should have, next podcast, we should do like a 10 subscriber party. Should have like a little bit of a celebration.
Have like a 12-way screen. where it's just us and all 10 subscribers. Yeah, that would be funny.
Well, no, I mean, like we do something, like it should be like the 10 subscriber, extravaganza.
Goodbye, everybody.
All right, bye.